Hi, my name is Marie, and recently I was on FaceTime reading a book to my granddaughter. Her dad asked me if I would read his book that he wrote when he was a little boy. He wrote this story and then recently made it into a book. The book is about an octopus who buys new shoes, and it's quite a big job because he does have those 8 legs that have the 8 feet. The book is called Hank's New Shoes. The author is Chris Gallagher. The illustrator is Darren Gate. "Good morning," said an always cheery Hank the octopus as he lumbered into the shoe shop. His 8 long legs took him from the door towards Mr. Turner, the shop owner, who stood ready to help his first customer of the day. "Well, good morning to you, Hank, and welcome," said Mr. Turner. "What can I do for you today?" "My feet are sore," replied Hank as he sat on the blue bench, wiggling his tender tentacles. "I think it might be time for some new shoes." "Well, you've come to the right place," said Mr. Turner. "I have all kinds of shoes to choose from." He pointed to the display stacked all around them, shoes to fit most any job. A bit puzzled, Hank asked, "What does a job have to do with shoes?" "Shoes are like tools. The right ones go a long way to making your work easier." "Do you have a certain type in mind?" asked Mr. Turner. Hank looked around for a moment. "I never realized shoes were so complicated. Which ones do you suggest?" Look at all those different shoes. Wow, different colors too. "Perhaps we should start with some sneakers," Mr. Turner offered, pulling a pair from the rack. "That sounds like a great idea, but why would I want sneakers?" asked Hank. "Sneakers are perfect for exercising. They're flexible, and rubber bottoms keep you from slipping in the grass," Mr. Turner explained as he gently bent once to demonstrate. "See, athletes wear them for competing." "Interesting thought, Hank, but what is an athlete?" "Athletes play sports like soccer, basketball, and all kinds of running events," said Mr. Turner. "Reading Hank's mind, they entertain us by competing and inspire us to stay healthy." Hank quickly nodded. "That's what I want. I want sneakers so I can be an athlete and entertain others." He laced up a nearby sky blue one and held out his foot to admire it. The sneaker looked great against his orange tentacle. "Well, Hank, there are all kinds of entertainers. Are you sure you want to be an athlete?" asked Mr. Turner. Hank tapped his chin with his tentacle and thought, "How else could I entertain and inspire people?" he said. Mr. Turner looked around the shop for a great display. "I also have dance shoes." "Dance shoes?" interrupted Hank. "What are those for?" "Tap dancers use the metal plates on the bottom to make music." Mr. Turner put a shiny black tap shoe on each of his hands and danced them across the bench next to Hank so he could hear the tap, tap, tap sound that they make. "Oh, that sounds like fun," said Hank, thinking of all the performances he could do for his friends. "It sure is, but it takes a lot of practice to perform well," said Mr. Turner. "I definitely want tap shoes. I want to learn to be a musician with my feet." And as Hank slid one on and started a clumsy jig. "You sure are entertaining," Mr. Turner roared with laughter as Hank tripped over an open box and tumbled into a shelf of shoes, sending footwear flying. Hank blushed, but Mr. Turner waved off the mess. "Are you sure you want tap shoes?" "I have lots of other types of shoes. Boots don't require any rhythm." "Oh, please show me," said Hank, eager to bounce back from his stumble. Mr. Turner plucked a tan shoebox from the pile. "Here are some great construction boots," said Mr. Turner, opening the lid. Hank's eyes widened as the orange laces looked like fun. "What would I wear those for?" "They protect engineers from uneven surfaces, mud, and debris," explained Mr. Turner. He flipped the boot over to show Hank its thick sole. "I probably should protect my feet too," agreed Hank. "But what is an engineer?" "Engineers design and build all the structures we use every day, houses, buildings, roads. Without them, we would be out in the cold and have a much harder time getting around." Hank got excited thinking of all the ways he could help. "I think I should get some construction boots too," he said. Then he pulled on a tall steel-toed one, protection from falling objects. He looked around for another shoe to try on and spotted a thick pair with furry lining spilling over the top. "But what are those?" he asked, pointing beyond the rack. "They look even warmer. Those are snow boots. They're for trekking through the snow," said Mr. Turner, pulling them down from the rack for Hank. And why would I want to do that? Hank thought out loud. He ran a tentacle over the soft fleece of one. It felt like a snuggly blanket. In some places, it snows a lot in the winter. The extra padding and tall sides keep out the icy cold, Mr. Turner said. Snow can pile up and make it tough to get around, so sometimes rescuers have to lace these up to assist people who get stuck. Helping others is always a nice thing. I should get some snow boots, too, Hank decided. Before Mr. Turner could say another word, Hank was wearing a heavy, furry, bright yellow snow boot, dreaming of all the drifts he would ascend during a rescue. Okay, but be careful wearing them when the snow gets really deep, said Mr. Turner. Even with snow boots, that can be very difficult because you start to sink. Oh, said Hank, what would I wear if the snow was too deep? Cold weather explorers wear snowshoes when searching for answers like where bears go in the winter. Wow, bears! Where do they go in the winter time? Asked Hank. I think they hibernate, said an amused Mr. Turner. But maybe you could be an explorer and find out for sure. Hank thought about being an explorer, and it sounded like an excellent job for a curious octopus. Oh, definitely. But why do snowshoes help? Mr. Turner held one up. See the big area? They are strong and they are lightweight. He handed a wooden one to Hank. This spreads your weight over more and more of the shoe, and you don't sink as far. Mr. Turner had finished. Hank was strapping on a large teardrop-shaped snowshoe. He examined it and compared it to the other shoes he was wearing. This is different than all the other shoes that cover both the top and bottom of my feet, he said, puzzled. His eyes darted amongst all the different footwear at the ends of his tentacles. That's true, but there are other shoes that don't cover your whole foot, just like these flip-flops, said Mr. Turner, and he pulled a pair down from beneath the bench. There were straps on the top of each shoe. Flip what? Asked Hank. Flip-flops. People at the beach wear them when the weather is warm. Excellent, blurted Hank, who loved the beach. So they're for relaxing in the sun? Well, usually the people who work on the beach, the lifeguards wear them on the job when they walk across the sand while saving swimmers. But if flip-flops are good for the sand, some boots are good for the mud, sneakers good for the grass, some shoes good for hard floors, and others are good for the snow. Are there any shoes for moving around in the water? I spend a lot of time swimming, Hank explained. Mr. Turner raised a finger as an answer struck him. He dug beneath a mountain of boxes to pull out an extra-large flat one. He opened it and showed Hank what was inside, a sleek rubber pair of flippers. These long flippers help scuba divers glide through the water when they're swimming under the waves, he said. The webbing helps move the water so the diver propels forward. Hank pulled one from the box and waved it in the air. Maybe these will help me when I'm exploring the reefs, he said, and with that, he tried on a snug-fitting red flipper, too. Hank looked at his tentacles, each with a different shaped and uniquely colored shoe at the end. Wow, I had no idea there were so many kinds of shoes and so many kinds of jobs that need special ones, said Hank. But wait, Mr. Turner, you aren't wearing any of these. Why not? Boy, Hank's got all those different shoes on each one of his feet. I'm not participating in a sport like an athlete. I'm not performing a dance routine like a tap dancer. I'm not building a roadway like an engineer. I'm not exploring an Arctic wilderness. I'm not keeping people safe on a hot beach. And I'm certainly not scuba diving right now, he said. So then, what are you doing? I'm running a business and hopefully giving my customers, like you, outstanding service, said Mr. Turner with a smile. What shoes do you wear for that? Asked Hank, looking down at Mr. Turner's feet. The shop owner sat down next to Hank and held out his foot to display its shoe, a brown leather one that he could slip on and off. I have a comfortable pair of loafers. Business people wear shoes like these to be professional. Hank stretched behind him for a nearby loafer with a bright copper-colored penny tucked into the bottom for display. Mr. Turner, you're an excellent businessman, he exclaimed. I want to be a businessman just like you. At that, he put the brown, shiny new loafer on his remaining bare foot. Mr. Turner now blushed. Thank you, Hank. It's compliments like yours that make me love my job. He patted Hank on the shoulder and stood to begin cleaning up. You have a fantastic attitude and an inquisitive mind. You'll do great in any job you choose. Hank stayed put on the wooden bench. As long as I have the right shoes, he said. Now, which do you suggest? All those different shoes he's wearing. The end. Thank you.